Welcome to Autocar Professional. This is Mukul Yudhveer Singh. We are here at Automechanika 2026. And standing with me is Olaf, who is Global President for Aftermarket SKF, and Gaurav Mishra, who is VP for Aftermarket India. Gentlemen, welcome to Autocar Professional. Gaurav, starting with you because we always start with India. Wanted to understand what are you showcasing here at Automechanika 2026?
First of all, thanks for having us. We are showcasing the breadth of products that we have here across segments, which means solutions across powertrain and chassis, spanning all the vehicle segments like two-wheelers, three-wheelers, commercial vehicles, and passenger vehicles. While we're generally known for being a bearing company, but you would see that we are offering a lot of solutions from bumper to bumper, and that's what is on the showcase here.
Interesting. Olaf, if this was a show happening, let's say somewhere in Europe,
Yes.
would you have showcased the same thing? How's the difference between aftermarket show in India versus Europe?
Good. First of all, also thank you for having us here. And it's a super question because this demonstrates the rollout of our global strategies. As we are at the moment separating our company SKF in the industry part and the automotive part, we are also rolling out our global product strategy. And Europe has traditionally a wider portfolio covering more workshop needs. So basically 50% of what a workshop needs to repair and maintain cars, we are offering in Europe. India has pretty much focused on bearings, and as Gaurav said, are catching up now. We are aiming in the next 5 years to have the same portfolio from local supply here in India than we have in Europe.
Interesting. One of the most interesting things happening in the automotive space today is the shrinking of product cycles. About 2-3 years back, we would be speaking about a car taking about 5 years for a development cycle. Today, that time has shrunk to 2, 3, and in some cases 1.5 years. How's that trend affecting the aftermarket? Because now you need to be sharper and you need to be faster than the OEM.
Yeah, well, I think the aftermarket is not impacted as much today. However, in a matter of say 3 to 5 years, when the demand actually starts building up in the aftermarket, you would see that change. So it's slowly and gradually catching up along with the OE side. There's always a period when the technologies introduced in OE make their way to the aftermarket. So I think it's a matter of a few years that aftermarket would really have to catch up with the speed at which the OEMs are functioning. Having said that, there is already a lot of change which is being observed in the aftermarket. So not just the product life cycles, but how the technology is getting into the aftermarket, how people are using digitalization to fight, say, for example, counterfeits, and how they are using the existing product know-how to educate the customers about both products and services. In fact, if I may talk about services as well. Those are the things that are really shaping up the aftermarket today.
Interesting. One more thing is the inclusion of electronics into everything today,
Yes.
right? Even bearings would start becoming systems
Yeah.
in a little while from now, or maybe they have already in some places, right? How are you dealing with this?
Yeah.
Every OEM wants now to you share the responsibilities in answering to the end consumers, and that's where systems are coming in. How are you with
Yes.
this?
Yeah, I mean, speaking globally, and I don't mean only a regional, but also from the business point perspective, we are talking all about transformation from ICE to electric vehicles. And we are fortunate that our product lines are all drivetrain agnostic. So basically, a wheel end or a hub is in a EV the same like in an ICE-driven engine. So of course, the requirements from the customers are different, but we are basically in the same technology. So we do not convert from an injection system to basically an electronic converter. So this is one benefit, so which gives stability to our customers from our portfolio point of view. The second one is definitely what happens on our final customer, which are the workshop and garage. We are delivering them more and more solutions, and Gaurav briefly mentioned services because our customers are expecting more today than just a product. They need also to know, how do I install it? How do I repair it? What kind of tools do I need? So we offer offline, online training abilities to transfer the knowledge, because the complexity which comes with shorter life cycles in OE and also to say more competition from India, from China, from other markets, so more OEMs, the complexity for the workshop is increasing, and we are trying to solve this by giving our customers, again, more than a product, a solution to make a proper repair also in a proper time.
Interesting. We had a few ECMA, representatives here in the morning, and they made it clear that the key differentiator in India, going 3 years from today, is going to be technology embedded components. Do you agree to this statement, Gaurav?
Well, yes and no, because a vehicle is made up of say 5,000 child parts, and there are of course places where you can integrate technology and make it commercially viable too. So yeah, and I see that electronics is becoming more and more integrated into vehicles today. To be able to say that how quickly we'll probably see bearing with a chip, well, probably we are still some years and the right application away. But yeah, I'm sure sooner or later, even hardcore mechanical components will start featuring in some technology. Would you like to
Yes,
add something?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I think, but we are anticipating also this trend. And one area which we're exploring, also new business model, is in the CV area, so commercial vehicle, with a product called Trax. And Trax is basically a sensor connected via cloud, either to the truck driver itself or to the fleet manager, by indicating by wheel. So every wheel basically has a sensor. If you have a problem there, like flat tire, too much heat because of overload, maybe because you want to avoid a wheel off, because a wheel off can become fatal if you have 200 kilo of a wheel flying over
Yeah.
the highway. This is very much appreciated because there are unfortunately many wheel offs during the year everywhere, and this is our new way to explore new services and new customer benefits with this kind of solutions.
So would this be aftermarket first or OE first?
Um, Actually, it came via aftermarket, so kind of retrofit, but moving now more and more into OE because also OE customers see the benefit of this solution.
Interesting. I was to ask something else, but then you've told me this. So, is the innovation in the automobile space flows from aftermarket to OE? I've seen a lot of, in terms of infotainment systems, in terms of technologies which are passive, not active, like the one just on wheels but not on the way how an automobile operates. Is that innovation taking place first in the aftermarket rather than on the OE level?
Mm.
Is that the common?
Yeah, maybe,
This question is for both of you.
yeah. Typically, I would say 90%, if you can measure it in this way, comes from OE to the aftermarket. So this is where you want to bring and need to bring innovations because it's all about total cost of ownership, or longer lifetime, lower breakdowns, a longer maintenance phase. I mean, this is especially if you earn money in the fleet area. This is really what counts. And so this is the typical downstream from OE. But there are also, like I mentioned, the example, and there are other examples more, where you have the upstream, where you start in the aftermarket based on very particular problems which have been not covered so far from OE, and this goes the other way around. But the mainstream is from OE to aftermarket.
Interesting. So the solution that we were talking about around the wheels falling off
Yeah.
now is basically a complete system. It
Yes.
has the wheel, a sensor, and a few other things.
It-
So you'll be supplying a whole system now, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Is that the future? Instead of components, will the component industry, both for aftermarket as well as for OE, go towards the systems?
Um, Systems and solutions are two areas. I mean, being a system supplier helps to understand what's going on in this system, because this helps also our OE teams to explain it to the customer. However, it's very rare that as a customer, OE specifically, is really ordering a complete system from you. They like it to understand that you are knowledgeable, but when it comes to sourcing, they have basically then cut the system again into different pieces, and then they source basically the single component. So therefore, it's a challenge, on the one hand side, to build up their system knowledge and to sell the whole system. But for the aftermarket, clearly the solution is coming that I say for this particular repair, I need information, how to deinstall and install, how to make the repair, so information management, and in the end training to be capable to do the repair in a decent time. Because try and error doesn't work these days anymore.
Interesting. One same question to you, but from India perspective. In India, in aftermarket and OE, do you see 5 years from today, systems versus components approach?
Well, I will not touch too much upon the OE side. Of course, I'll talk more about the OE, but I believe that the likability of systems becoming popular in aftermarket is fairly high. The fact that one supplier will be able to, say for example, supply you the hub, the bearing, the related components around it, say for example seals, etc., and probably a greased solution as well, that remains very, very likely. So I would definitely presume that, like 5 years you mentioned, things will actually start moving from component towards systems.
Interesting. We're also seeing a shift towards use of green steel, green aluminum, and everything green, right? How well are you guys prepared for that?
I mean, this is of course the center of the core of our company is sustainability. And we have even today in our raw material steel a high portion of recycled steel, for example, which has already a different footprint because it has been already produced and is now coming back into the cycle. The other topic is, of course, and in India, our plant, for example, in Pune, is since 2 years, so a bit more, completely carbon neutral. Because we have solar power energy and we are measuring basically at least scope 1 and scope 2. What are we needing an additional energy to be carbon neutral, and we are carbon neutral, and also the other plants are very until 2030 on their way to be carbon neutral for if it comes to CO2 and sustainability.
Interesting. One last question for both of you gentlemen. Your moonshot for the automotive component industry on a global level, your moonshot for India's automotive component industry. Starting with you.
Moon chart?
What do you see in
Ah,
the component industry in 10 years from now? Where do you think it'll be?
I mean, first, more complexity because the variety, especially in India, but also globally, in terms of more different technologies, is increasing. We have not a sharp switch from ICE, so internal combustion, to electric. There will be at least a transition period of 15 to 20 years that you really can say battery electric is the only technology on the market. This will increase the complexity in warehousing, in parts handling, and of course in the workshop. So, and this means our job as tier one supplier to serve our customers properly will more focus on, I come again, on solutions. Otherwise, there will be no repair solution to keep our cars rolling on the workshop.
Thank you, Olaf. Olaf.
Well, not too different from what Olaf mentioned. Like in 10 years, I believe we probably should be at 30% electrification. What that means is the usual ways of today will not work, right? And therefore, people have to be educated around how to manage an electric vehicle. And that has to be done on a big scale. We are a big country, right? So it requires scale. So I see that's a big shift happening. A lot of technology that's into the vehicles today is available to the aftermarket 5 and 10 years from now. How will the aftermarket deal with that? So educating the entire ecosystem will be of a key importance.
Perfect. Thank you. This is Mugul Yudhvir Singh signing off for AutoCar Professional. As you heard, solutions and systems before components, in let's say 5 or 10 years from today.